That's better. Welcome to Lunch with Books. Mom, it's time to come to order. Call her out. As I was saying, welcome to Lunch with Books. If you have a cell phone, and I know all you kids have one, please mute it at this time or put it on vibrate or whatever it is you do. Next Tuesday, the 26th of April, when hopefully there will be snow and ice, just like today, Peter Chocolos will be here. His book is called Born of Rebellion, West Virginia and the Civil War. He's a photographer, retired teacher, and vice president of the Ohio Valley Civil War Roundtable. You all know Pete. And in 2 weeks, on the 3rd of May, Alan Fitzpatrick will be back. His talk is entitled, and this is the short version, The History and Material Culture of Native Americans in the Upper Ohio Valley.
Say that 3 times fast.
There's a lot more to it. I edited it. Okay, and we have a special program coming up. We're going to put a new exhibit up here on the stage of photographs taken by Bill Burke, who's a Wheeling College graduate from the 70s here in Wheeling. They're fascinating pictures. So we'll have 28 photographs, and we'll have a little reception on May 19th at 6 p.m. Okay, today we welcome back our friend Don Feenerty, who's done his Foxfire program and his Simple Life program here, always very popular. And he wanted to do a program for Financial Literacy Month, which April is. And we have somebody now to keep track of all the months and what they are, so we can do programs. But here is, I'm going to introduce Don, and he'll introduce the other guests. So here's Don Feenerty.
As you guys know, I am a young man. As I was saying, still in my prime. A baby even. And I should talk to these women I work with, and then I'm the old geezer at the bank. But either way, I've been very blessed my entire adult life. I've been blessed my entire adult life in that the fact that I've always been financially secure, or at least financially comfortable. And that in no way means I've ever been wealthy. So don't get any ideas. I'm not loaning anybody anything. I don't have anything. My wife and I, when we first got married, we were downright poor. And that was for quite a few years. And there were times when the market crashed in 2008, as a self-employed photographer, I was poor again. But even through all of that, we were very financially comfortable and financially secure. And that's because we never had the fear that anyone was going to be able to come, none of those big banks were going to be able to come and take away what we owned, because we owned what we had. Now, there were times that we were actually so, poor is relative. I hate to really say poor, but I'll say it. We were so poor that when we would go to the grocery store every 2 weeks, I would ask my wife if we could have something, and she would say, no, we can't afford that. And this was every 2 weeks, this was an occurrence. And it wasn't that I was asking to buy a fillet. It wasn't that I was wanting to buy lobster. I was usually wanting to buy fresh vegetables. And I'd be told, we can't afford fresh vegetables. We have to buy the canned or the frozen because they're cheaper. Well, I hate canned green beans, but I really hate them. And dogs love them. I think that should tell you something. It was probably dog food. I love fresh green beans, but we couldn't afford them. And back then, in the early 80s, you couldn't buy frozen the way you can today. They just weren't quite, the technology wasn't there. So if I wanted fresh vegetables, and that was one thing my wife taught me, was if you don't treat yourself to luxuries, you're always going to resent it, you're always going to regret it, and then you're going to go out and buy things you can't afford. So we knew we had to buy some of these luxuries, treat ourselves good every so often, so that we felt good. So I was very impressed when I saw that Rine here, Jessica, is with United Way of the Upper Ohio Valley. When I saw the tags on the peppers she brought, because when we were poor, and I wanted fresh green beans, I would go to Jebbia's, because Jebbia's always had that front counter where they put things out that are just about too ripe or going to be too ripe, where Kroger would throw those things away. So I would go to Jebia's and well, it's $1 now, but back at the time it was for 50 cents. I could get a basket of green beans for 50 cents. So we learned to take care of ourselves and still have luxuries, but we did it in a way that we were being frugal. The other thing that made all the difference in our lives is that we never bought anything we couldn't afford to pay for. So I actually still have a credit card that this year I've had for 42 years. And I've only paid interest on that credit card one time, and that was because the bill slipped under the seat of my car, and I was late on making a payment, and they charged me interest and threatened me and everything. But the reason I never paid interest is because even though we used credit cards, we always paid off as soon as the bill came. Because I was terrified. I grew up with people who lost homes, who lost cars, who had repossessors come and take their stuff. I did not want that to happen to me. So I drove junk for years. We got on budgets as quickly as we could. And I'm saying this because I recently read a study that said as seniors enter retirement, it's not so much the fear or the challenge of living on a fixed income, of Social Security or pension that's the difficult part. It's the debt they bring into retirement. It is not uncommon in America for a senior to take into retirement $20,000+ worth of credit card debt because they've been paying the minimum payment every month. And the challenge comes from paying that down. Now, I would love to say that Mallory Clegg and I from Unified Bank and Jessica Rine from United Way of the Upper High Valley, I'd love to say that we're going to be able to answer all of your problems and take away all your financial woes. We can't do that, but we do have some pretty cool things to talk about, and some of these things are really fun. And I usually don't say that about a fellow banker, but Mallory Clegg is with Unified Bank, and she's going to be our first speaker. And I have learned to just shut up and trust her. So I go to her for all my financial advice, and see how that works out. Mallory Clay.
Hello, everyone. As Dawn said, my name is Mallory Clegg. I have been in banking in the Upper Ohio Valley for the last 14 years. I started as a teller right out of college, and I have done pretty much everything there is to do in the world of retail banking, and even did some commercial lending. I guess I just couldn't decide what I wanted to do, so I kept trying everything out until I found something that I liked. And throughout all of that, my favorite thing that I found to do was financial literacy and financial education. And so when Dawn brought up the option of coming here today with him to talk to you folks, I jumped on the opportunity. I usually do a lot of things with little kids or with high schoolers, and I have not copied that presentation for you guys. I don't think you want me to read you Dr. Seuss' book on where money originated.
She does it very well.
I do all the voices, fantastic. But I didn't think this was quite the right crowd. I also have some presentations I've done in the past for adults, and I was tired of it. And I was bored with it. So if you guys are okay with it, I came up with a new presentation that I thought would be kind of fun and a little bit different than your typical savings, and how to pinch your pennies, and how to invest in a CD, or what type of retirements, or those topics that I'm sure you've all heard before. So I put a little different spin on things. So if you guys want to give me some feedback at the end, that would be fantastic as well. But as the brochure stated, I'm here to talk to you about savings. And as you all should know, savings is pretty essential to all of us and our ability to either buy the things that we need or pay for a service that we might need. It also provides us with a sense of comfort, a sense of stability, that if something were to happen or something were to go wrong, you have a little nest egg or a little bit of money set aside to where you can take care of whatever that need might be that arises. A lot of people don't have that luxury, and that creates a huge sense of anxiety for a lot of people across America and across the world. So savings is very, very important in each of our lives. I'm going to talk a little bit about amassing wealth. And when I say amassing wealth, I don't mean being a millionaire or anything like that. Obviously, that'd be wonderful if we can all get there. But amassing wealth, amassing savings, being able to feel sound in what you have sitting in the bank. Amassing wealth doesn't happen overnight. I don't play the Powerball, but maybe if I did, maybe I could amass wealth overnight by hitting that jackpot. But that doesn't happen to very many people. Maybe you could get a large inheritance from a family member. Again, it doesn't happen often, and that doesn't happen overnight. Savings can be hard. It takes time. It takes dedication. It takes a plan of action. And that can be really hard for someone to do, especially if they are living paycheck to paycheck, maybe struggling to make ends meet, especially in times like we're in right now where we have prices that are inflating, but wages aren't necessarily following suit, or some people who are on a fixed income. And gas prices they're starting to drop, but they're still pretty well up there. So savings is hard. And even if you do save and you amass some wealth in that account, sometimes it's also tempting and hard not to spend it because you look at your bank statement or your mobile app and you're like, oh my gosh, look at what I have. And you want to treat yourself. So savings is a hard thing to do. And there are all types of methods out there, articles, blogs, theories about savings, about paying off debt so you can save more or have more cash at your disposal to spend. But again, that's not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk to you all about today is frugality and how being frugal is becoming trendy again. Benjamin Franklin said, "Be industrious and frugal, and you will be rich." So let's define those two terms, industrious and frugal. Industrious, when I actually looked it up, means to be diligent and hardworking. To be frugal means to be sparing or economical with regard to money or food. So be industrious and be frugal, and you will be rich. So first I want to talk a little bit about industrious. Industrious. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? What do you guys think of when I say the word industrious? Someone's industrious. What comes to mind? They work hard. Hardworking. Yeah, very much so. They work hard. It's a badge of honor. Someone calls you industrious. You work hard. You stand by your word. You show up. You do what needs to be done. You go the extra mile. So to be industrious sounds like a compliment. Now, in Benjamin Franklin's time, to be frugal, that was seen as a sign of financial intelligence. It's someone who is successful. But somewhere along the lines from the 1700s, being frugal had a negative connotation. If I were to say that someone was frugal, Don Feenerty's frugal, what do you think? Cheap. You're cheap. You're stingy. You pinch those pennies. You're tight. Maybe you don't buy nice things, or he's frugal. He won't donate to that. Being frugal was frowned upon, and so where did that come from? Why do we think this way? Why is being frugal, why is that a bad thing? Why is being, to go off of that definition, why is being sparing or economical in regard to your money or food, why is that a bad thing? Sounds kind of smart, right, when you read the definition? Well, somewhere along the way, and this could spark all kinds of debates, but society programmed us to believe that frugality was a bad thing and that we should just spend our money freely. We work hard for it, right? We should buy expensive things. Buying things is a status symbol sometimes. So frugality became taboo. You didn't want to be called frugal. Who likes to spend money? I do. I work hard. I have to work with him. Okay? So sometimes I like to treat myself to something, and that's okay. Being frugal doesn't mean you can't buy nice things. Being frugal doesn't mean you can't spend your money. It means you need to be smart about it. Okay? Money is not an unlimited resource. Regardless of what your annual income might be or how much money you might have in the bank, if you don't spend it wisely, if you just spend it freely and you don't have a plan to replace those funds, it's going to run out eventually. Those money trees I planted, Dawn sold them to me, not producing yet. Okay? Two things I like when I present are quotes and statistics, because if you don't believe me, maybe you'll at least believe somebody else, okay? Pablo Torre, who I don't know who that is, but he wrote an article, and it was published in Sports Illustrated. And that article stated that by the time they have been retired for 2 years, 78% of former NFL players have gone bankrupt or are under financial stress. Within 5 years of retirement, an estimated 60% of former NBA players are broke. Those are crazy numbers. Crazy numbers. And these are the guys that we see driving around in the fancy cars and wearing those fancy suits and sunglasses and jewelry and live in those big mansions that we all drool over and see on the TV shows. By the time they're in their mid-40s, a lot of them are broke. They've spent it all and had no plan for replacement. Money is not an unlimited resource. Regardless of your income, you have to spend wisely. So a lot of people follow the Kardashians or professional athletes, actors, musicians, and covet those lives of luxury that we see them live on TV or in magazines or online. But there's been a new trend. It's not really a new trend, but it's coming back again. Everything comes full circle. There's a new trend that's been on the rise, and that is the trend of being frugal. It started before the pandemic, but the pandemic really fueled the idea and the trend of frugality. Because let's look back of when that started. We had to spend a lot of time with ourselves, right? There wasn't anything to do. There wasn't anywhere to go. You couldn't really be around anyone. So you figure things out to do, right? So pandemic fueled frugality, also the ability to get online and buy things at discounted prices or resell things and buy them at discounted prices, and the ability to find deals online also fueled this new trend. There are all kinds of apps. There are things like Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Mercari, Groupon that you can get at the touch of your fingers to help yourself find a deal and save money. A lot of people have become obsessed with a lot of these apps and where they can find savings. There are blogs, Instagrams, TikToks, Facebook groups. All of these things are promoting different ways that you can learn how to be frugal and how to use your resources more wisely. Some of the things when I was just flipping through trying to find some options of what these things are, there was an entire half-hour video on cute ways to spruce up your packed lunch. I mean, cutting little sandwiches out with cookie cutters and all
Putting
kinds
in
of
your lunch with lunch bag.
yeah, making your own lunch bag. You know, how do you make packing a lunch cool? Things that a lot of us maybe have done, but a lot of people hadn't. Baking your own bread, canning. I know my mom has always we always had a large garden growing up, and she always canned vegetables. You can't find canning supplies, or if you do, the prices are very inflated because so many people during the pandemic took up gardening and canning that now for the people who have been doing it for years, luckily my mom has a basement full of jars that she reuses, but it's hard to find the supplies. There are videos out there on how to cut your own hair. Now, gentlemen, I know some of you might cut your own hair. That's a common thing. There is no way that is ever going to happen here. But there are all kinds of videos. If you wanted to try it, you could get online and learn how to cut your own hair. How to fix your car. You get on YouTube and you can find all types of videos to show you how to fix various problems on your automobile. So we're not calling mechanics, we're not calling plumbers, we're not calling carpenters. We're going online and we're finding ways to learn how to do it ourselves. There was even one, you would think that this would be common sense, but maybe not. There are videos out there on how to exercise outside so you don't have to go to a gym. I thought that was called running, but I don't run, so maybe I'm missing something. DIY is no longer for crafters and people who want to remodel. DIY has become for everyone. Now, I started noticing several years ago, I have a family member that used to live in Michigan, and I would drive there quite frequently to visit, and I always liked to take the scenic route. I never liked to go on the Ohio Turnpike. And one time my mom went with me, and we, were bored, and so we started counting the number of Dollar Generals that we saw, because on the way up, it was like, man, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one. And so we counted the whole way home from Michigan. I live outside of St. Clairsville, and I forget how many we counted, but it was well into the 50s on a 5-hour drive. We counted somewhere in the 50s of Dollar Generals. They also typically, fun fact, corresponded with a McDonald's. So I don't know. But I started noticing these pop up everywhere across America. That was about 10 years ago. Now, in the last maybe 3 or 4 years, I've noticed Dollar Trees popping up all over the place. And my first thought was, why? Why are there all these Dollar Generals? Why are there all these Dollar Trees? But what's going on here? Can people not afford something that is more expensive than $1? Well, it's a pretty crappy thought, but that's where my brain went, because society has programmed us that we should pay more for something just to show that we can. There's an economist and author, his name's Tim Jackson, and he has a quote that I love. And he said that people are persuaded to spend money that we don't have on things that we don't need to create impressions that won't last on people that we don't care about. So I want to dive into each section of that quote because I think it's very powerful and it's very compelling. People are persuaded to spend money we don't have. Credit cards. Don spoke about his credit card, how he pays it off every month. A lot of people don't do that. Credit cards, loans. Now, sometimes you want to buy a house, you want to buy a car. Loan is a necessary thing. I'm a banker. I like loans. I like when people get loans, okay? But do I need a 5-bedroom house? I don't have any children, so I don't think so. But I wanted one, so I got a loan for one. I didn't need that. So I spent money that I didn't have. I took out a loan I didn't have. This is not a true story, but it happens. You spend money that we don't have on things we don't need. I didn't need, in this example, a 5-bedroom house. You don't need a $70,000 car. You don't need a $100 pair of shoes or dress, or you don't need to have things that are expensive. You need something that's going to get you by. We want those expensive things. To create impressions that won't last. When I pull up to a stop sign and some fancy vehicle, does the person next to me go, "Ooh, look at that car"? Yeah, but by the time they get to the next stoplight, do you think they've remembered? No. If I walk through the grocery store in a fancy outfit, maybe somebody might notice that, "Ooh, that's a nice dress." Yeah, probably. Will they remember by the time they've checked out? No. So we're creating impressions that aren't going to last. We're trying to create impressions that won't last on people we don't care about. I don't know who the person is that just passed me on the street. I don't know who the person is that just passed me in the grocery store. So we have, as a society, spent money we don't have on things we don't need to create impressions on people that won't last, that we don't care about. It's a true statement. It really is. I really don't like to shop. It's not my thing. I don't have patience. My time is very important to me. I hate wasting time. I don't like to run around and look for deals. I didn't used to run around, and I was all about one-stop shopping. If I could get all my groceries at Kroger or Respecs, great. I don't care if they were on sale or not. For other items, Walmart, Target, if I could get everything there, great. Well, but you're probably going to pay more because you're not looking. I wasn't looking to use my resources wisely. I was looking at my time. My time doesn't necessarily pay me when it's on my own time. Okay? I mentioned the Dollar General. They were popping up everywhere. I started popping in there on my way home because there were 2 of them on my way home from work. So when you needed a couple items, it's easier to go there than to make a trip into the mall or into Respecs Plaza to get things. I didn't really find the prices to be that different, but I liked the convenience factor. Wasn't overly wowed. A couple years ago, though, it was Christmas time, and I was looking for one of those large gift bags. They're almost impossible to find. Everywhere was out of them. And somebody had told me that they saw them at the Dollar Tree, and I should look there. I'd never really been there before. So I walked in, and I was amazed at the things that you could buy for $1. It's $1.25 now, but for $1. Glassware, greeting cards. Have you guys bought a greeting card at Hallmark or another national store lately? Expensive. Dollar Tree, $1. Food, some of it's name brand. Hygiene items, cleaning products, craft supplies, nice stuff for $1. Wow, why wouldn't I shop there? Why wouldn't I take the time to go there where I could save a lot of money versus going to the big box store where I could get everything? I like to craft. I'm a big crafter, so I frequent the Dollar Tree. Sometimes I frequent multiple of them in the same day because I'm trying to find something. There are at least 10 Facebook groups that I have found that all are dedicated to the Dollar Tree and how promote items that they sell there, or how you could repurpose items they sell there for another use. People are obsessed with saving money and getting items at a cheaper price. People are driving hours to go to a Dollar Tree because there's not one in their town. It's crazy to me. Some other stores, Big Lots. Another favorite of the savvy shopper. You can find some of the neatest things at Big Lots that you really can't find anywhere else, and typically at a pretty reasonable or reduced price. Just the other day when Don and I were talking about this presentation, he mentioned that he had been in Big Lots recently, and he had found some type of snack food at Big Lots that he had not seen in a store since Stone and Thomas closed the stores in downtown Wheeling. And what year was that?
18 something.
18 something? Might have been. I certainly hope that what he bought at Big Lots was not in storage since Stone and Thomas closed his stores in downtown Wheeling, but he's been at work every day, so I think he survived. Thrift stores. Oh my goodness. People are going nuts over thrift stores and consignment shops. They are driving all over the place to try to find something that was an expensive name brand item for a very, very cheap price. People go nuts over it. People have actually even turned it into a career where they go around to all the thrift stores and buy up things and then go to those apps or those online websites that I spoke about and resell them just for a little bit more. So they're buying something that was expensive for a really cheap price, still selling it for a cheap price, and making a living off of it. They're making a living off of being frugal. The world's changing from who can spend the most money to who can get the most for less. Frugality is becoming trendy. My friend Jess and I have been friends for a number of years, and if any of you are familiar with Jessica and you see her around town, she's always well dressed. She's always well put together. She's fashionable. She's always got cute shoes and matching jewelry, and just always looks the picture perfect. And several times over the years, I've complimented her on her shoes or on her earrings or her outfit or whatever it might be that day that I thought was cute that she had on. And several times she smiled, of course, and thanked me. And then she said, Walmart. Didn't look like Walmart. It looked like she bought it at, Macy's or somewhere that, sold high-end goods. But no, she watches what she spends. She's economical, she's resourceful, and she found something that looked just as good and worked just as well at Walmart and spent probably a quarter of the price on it. Wearing the most expensive suit or dress in the room, it really doesn't matter. Having the nicest, fanciest car in the parking lot really doesn't matter. It might to some people. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. But overwhelmingly, people are beginning to live more frugally and within their means because they want to be able to amass wealth and be able to not have to feel that financial stress. They want to feel financially stable. Understanding your needs versus your wants is very important in this process. Do I love Starbucks? Oh boy, I do. Love Starbucks. Had one this morning. I don't need it. I want it. Limiting your wants to have more money to save or pay for your needs is really important. That doesn't mean I can't have Starbucks. That means I shouldn't have Starbucks every day. I should treat myself. I treated myself because I wanted to be nice and peppy when I came and talked to all of you. So I needed that extra espresso shot. That's how I justified it. So thank you all that I bought myself Starbucks today. A lot of people will tell you, though, that if I cut out that Starbucks, that will save me $5 a day. And that adds up. Well, that is a true statement. $5 a day that you don't spend will add up. That's if you don't spend it somewhere else. Okay? That's why it's important to know your needs and wants, treat yourself, not indulge yourself, and make sure you know where that money that you're saving is going. That's why it's important to have a budget. Now, I know I've heard a lot of people say over the years, I remember when I had to live on a budget. Again, like frugality, like having a budget's a bad thing. We should all have a budget, regardless of how much we make or how much we have in our savings account. We should all have a budget. Maybe you don't write it down or something like that. There's lots of apps that will track your spending, your savings, and do your budgeting for you. But we should all have those numbers of what we should or can spend on a monthly basis. Simple questions. How much is your mortgage or your rent payment? On average, what's your utilities? How much do you spend on average for things like gas, groceries, clothing, household needs? What is your limit? This is the important one. What is your limit on entertainment and eating out? Maybe I have the money to buy those concert tickets, but I went to a concert last weekend too. Maybe I shouldn't do both. Paying attention to those things, regardless of how much you make, is very important because you want to keep that financial stability for yourself. Learning to be industrious and frugal, like Benjamin Franklin advised us, is how we grow and retain that wealth. Frugality, it's not a fad. It's a lifestyle that will lead you to great financial security. It's not a negative thing. It doesn't make you stingy or tight or any of those things that we said earlier in the presentation. Doesn't mean you can't have Starbucks. Doesn't mean you can't have a designer handbag. Just means you shouldn't have one every day. Being frugal, being smart with your resource. Frugality really is learning that you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. No one knows what's in your bank account except for you. Just because someone drives a fancy, expensive car doesn't mean they're any more wealthy than you are in your practical SUV. Living within your budget and with a sense of frugality will allow you to save that money. And with that savings, you can pay cash for a car, for a house. You could buy that boat you always wanted, the RV you said you were always going to travel the country in. You could travel the world. You could do all kinds of things by living a life within your means. You can do what you want later on with your savings. Another thing that someone who is frugal should be very cautious of is eating out, because it's an expensive habit. So part of being frugal, don't waste your resources, and that includes your food, which is why Jessica is here with her beautiful peppers that she has sitting here to give you some tips on how you can be frugal with your resource in the kitchen. So I will turn it over to you, Jessica.
Oh, it doesn't get that easy.
Oh,
No.
he has to get up and talk again. Like,
You open up a couple windows.
uh-oh,
So many windows.
so many windows.
Mallory talked about being frugal, and I just want to say, any of you have ever had chickens? You know, there are two kinds of people who have chickens. Chickens lay eggs all through the spring and summer. In the fall, light's not as much light, they start slowing down. People then say, well, she's not laying, so we'll eat her. You eat that chicken once, you don't get more eggs. During the pandemic, it was a great equalizer. We all learned a lot of things. My wife and I remembered something from when we were younger and just starting out on the farm. And during the pandemic, when we had all these eggs in the spring and the summer, we started putting the extras in a jar, and then we put water over them, and then pickling lime, and you put a lid on it, and you put it in the basement, and you can keep a limed egg for up to 2 years, and it's fresh. So the second year, all through the winter of the pandemic, I still had fresh eggs out of the jars of lime. Then until the chickens laid, and then I ate fresh eggs again. Now I'm amazed because I used to be the one who ate the chicken at the end of the year. Now I have chickens who are laying for the third year. They just started. I'm getting out of 4 hens, I'm getting 4 eggs a day. And these are all hens that have been with me all this time. So being frugal isn't necessarily foolish, and it's not cheap. It's just, I like eggs. So I want to keep getting eggs. Mallory also said, we do things during the pandemic that we may not have thought we would do. She said something about cutting your own hair. Now, I know this is going to surprise all of you, but I cut my own hair one day during the pandemic, and I posted it on Facebook. Hey, saving money, I cut my own hair. And then people were so kind to write and say, you can tell. I thought it was very nice of them to let me know. I just wanted to say something about Jessica. Ever since I've known her, I have thought, I had this illusion of her based on what I saw. Always dressed to the nines. Always,
Pay you guys for all these compliments.
always glamorous. And
That's right.
during the pandemic, she started a Facebook post called
Connect in the kitchen.
Connect in the Kitchen. I stayed with it for about 4 months. I gained 20 pounds. I had to give it up. But she started showing people how to make the most out of whatever food they had, because we both started during the pandemic posting things from our lives, because we both live different lives than the average person does. My stuff was from the farm, hers was from the kitchen. And I just want to tell you, when you want to make the most out of the food you have, you want to do what Jessica does. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jessica Rine.
I didn't even know they liked me. I make fun of Dawn all the time. I feel bad about it now with all these compliments. So I'm John Nixon's daughter. And what that means is that I grew up watching my dad clip coupons every Sunday after church my entire life. And I didn't know what I learned until I had my own kids. And now I'm the sole financial provider for 3 awesome kids, and I have to do this. But it's also really fun for me. I really do love it. And the Connect in the Kitchen page, you hit so many triggers. She was talking about me every time she described anyone that's frugal. That's been me my entire life. Cheap, as you said. That's a nicer word for it, I guess, is frugal. My friend Mallory, do you know Mallory Clay? She is a fair-skinned, red-haired woman, and somebody would say, oh, put some sunscreen on, you're so pale. She said, I prefer fair. So I think instead of cheap, I'm going to prefer to have frugal be my new word. And everything that you said was spot on. And I've done consignment shopping for clothes all the time. Also, she's worn some dresses that I still remember, so I call a little bit on that. And we have the same dress, a couple of things too. So when she was talking about my wardrobe, that echoes. And I remember that when you complimented me, I said Walmart, it was earrings and they were $1. And I walked by and I was like, oh, those are cute. But normally I like to shop local, right? That's why you see my Gebbia peppers. And I think you guys are my people, because when you talked about the dollar baskets and the green stickers, I heard some, yeah, right? So you guys do that too? That's what I did through the pandemic. The only thing that I needed to buy were fresh vegetables. Other than that, I was set. And the reason is I buy things when they're on sale and I freeze them. So I always use the example like chicken Parmesan. I don't wake up and say, oh, I want chicken Parmesan tonight. I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to get my chicken and the sauce and the noodles. I will never, ever do that. Do you know the show Chopped that's on Food Network, where they give you a basket and you open it up and you have to make a dish from it? That's how I treat the dollar basket table at Gebbia's. I look at what they have and I think about what's in my pantry. I think about what's in my freezer that I bought on sale ages ago. And I take the fresh vegetables and I work that into what I'm going to make. And I've done that for years. And again, I have all these peppers here and they're very nice and pretty. If you want to know if my children will eat them, the answer is no. They would still prefer, if I would make homemade mac and cheese, they'd prefer Kraft. If I make something that has multi-dimensions, they're going to eat that top layer, right? They'll eat like a burger, but they're not going to eat the Brussels sprouts that I make with balsamic glaze and bacon, which are delicious. Won't touch them. I wouldn't either when I was that age, so. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was how to do exactly what I did here. It's just chicken and it's just peppers, leftovers. We're talking about being frugal and we're talking about food. It's hard to cook for one person or 2 people, just one meal. You always have some leftovers. Something that I've become really good at because of the Connect in the Kitchen page. It's not just me, by the way. It's a group on Facebook. Anybody can join. It's basically local people. There are some that are out around the area. There's about 2,300 people on the page now, and it's people sharing what they made in their own kitchens. So it's not just me. I post as well, but there are people on that page that post way more often than I do. And they give me different examples of how to utilize ingredients that I have already saved. So before I dive into that, we'll go back to the chicken parmesan situation here. If you buy boneless, skinless chicken breast, first of all, it has no flavor unless you add it. It's true. Just try to eat one. It's gross. It tastes like nothing. So I would encourage you to not only don't pay the $4 a pound, $5 a pound for boneless, skinless chicken breast, you can get split chicken breast, find it when it's on sale at Respecs or at Kroger for 99 cents a pound. That's a substantial savings, and I have it in my freezer ready to cook anytime. You can do that with pork. You can do that with ground beef. When you see, if you guys like the dollar baskets at Jebia's, I'm sure you know what the Wahoo stickers are if you're shopping at Kroger, right? If you find meat that's on sale that has the Wahoo, don't be afraid of it. They can't sell it if it's bad, right? They can't sell chicken that has salmonella. Like they won't do that. It's just that it's just past fresh. Take it home, freeze it, saves you a lot of money. And then go to Jebia's, which is a local gem here. And if you walk in, if you're not familiar, you walk in and you turn to the left, there's a table full of these little brown baskets or little green baskets full of whatever you want. If you like mushrooms or poblano peppers, you will be very happy every time you go in there because there's always a ton. But they're just past ripe. So overripe, I guess is the word, not past ripe.
Perfect, ready.
So for example, these stickers here mean that somebody went through and said, this is not good enough to put out there for the regular price, right? So they put these stickers on them. They take a couple of these, they put them in a basket. 2 of these peppers or 3 are $1. So if I have chicken that I bought for 99 cents a pound, and I have peppers, 2 or 3 for $1, I have a $2 meal, and I can make it into probably 2 days worth of food. So that's what I brought today. Cooking demonstration is probably not accurate. Dawn tried to get me to bring a hot plate and start tossing stuff around. I didn't think that was a good idea. I think they were a little nervous about smoke alarms and everything like that. But I did want to talk about how I'm able to take a couple of ingredients and turn them into different things. And again, with stuff that I bought on sale. So this is soy sauce. No, it's not. Yes, it is. This is soy sauce. You can get a stir-fry sauce. You can get sesame oil. There's a lot of ways to make a stir-fry. Chicken and vegetables are perfect for a stir-fry. That's one way to make them. This is a P.F. Chang's brand. I don't normally just go in and pick the off-brand. If I'm going into, but is it Best Choice is the brand and Respecs? Yeah, I don't go in and look for that brand. I look at what's available there. If there's a clearance aisle, that is the first place I'm gonna hit up. And I got this for 99 cents. I bought a few of them because the expiration is forever. And I know that I like to make stir fry. So this is one way that I can use my 99 cents a pound chicken that was in my freezer and my 99-cent vegetables with my 99-cent sauce, which is a great meal. Another way, chicken and vegetables, these go on sale too. Now, these are kind of a bread-y product, right? So you can't stockpile something like this. You can unfreeze them. I don't prefer to freeze breads, but I know a lot of people that do. This was $1. I can take chicken and vegetables and put it in a wrap. Another way to use chicken and vegetables. Now this is one, this brand's probably always going to be the cheapest. I coupon a lot, and it's really hard to get like the Ortega or whatever that kind of brand is. I don't notice the difference in the flavor though. I don't notice the difference in the taste. Taco seasoning, put it on the chicken, put it on the vegetables, and you have fajitas. You can also put those in a wrap, which is really good as well. So just one way that I'm able to, if at the beginning of the week, I make chicken and I make vegetables and everything is cooked, not with sauce, not with seasoning, put it to the side, I'm able to turn it into 3 meals. And that whole thing, this whole thing total is $5 and it's 3 days worth of meals. So that's something that I've been able to do back in the day because I really had to. I had to start that way. When I had my first daughter, I kept thinking, well, I nursed, so I didn't have to buy any food for her for a really long time. But then when she got over a year old and we started to have different things, and I'm trying to put every food group on a plate. It's so cute when you have your first kid and you do stuff like that, isn't it? The third one, you're like, here, just consume whatever, here's some chips, fruit snacks. So for me, when I brought this woman and this little girl into this life that is now 14 years old, I thought about credit cards. I didn't have enough money to pay for a lot of the things that I wanted, so I put them on credit cards. Well, when I had her, right before I had her, I was in a substantial amount of credit card debt. And I thought, if I'm bringing this woman, I keep saying woman, she's 14, she's still not a woman. But if I'm bringing this person into this world, I'm not gonna bring them into my debt and my bad mistakes. So I got rid of all of my debt. My ex-husband and I, or my husband at the time, we ended up having one vehicle to get from place to place, which was tough with us both working, but we had to do it because we wanted to make sure that we had a good foundation. Now my 14-year-old is putting away half of everything that she makes from her babysitting jobs and saving money just from watching us do it, watching me be this frugal, is the word, throughout everything. Now, when I think about the Connect in the Kitchen page 2, Dawn, you started me on that. I was only going to bring it up once instead of the 4 times I have. I will look at something that somebody makes and I see dollar signs with their meals. It's just that's how I do it. That's how I've spent my entire life. I look at what they probably bought it for. If they buy it local, if they go to a Michela's, if they go to the what's the sausage place in Bel Air, the neat place over. Nope. They sell like bacon and sausage, and I'll think of it before the end of this. But local places that sell local products that you'll see a lot of them are used in restaurants locally. That is a big sticking point for me. Going out to eat at restaurants. Again, I have 3 kids. You know, soon enough, they're going to eat me out of house and home. But right now, I have a 14-year-old daughter, a 10-year-old daughter, and an 8-year-old son. He's going to be the one that eats me out of house and home, and I'm certain of it. But what do they order when we go out to eat? Grilled cheese, macaroni and cheese. Do you know, when you're a frugal person, how much it pains you to spend $6 on a grilled cheese sandwich and then they only eat half of it? Oh, it drives me crazy. So that's the sticking point for me. And through the pandemic, I try to support local. I have so many friends that run local restaurants and I wanted to support them, but I had to force myself to do it because I was cooking so much in my house that I really didn't need to do that, but I wanted to support. So I did. I went out and helped them out. But for the most part, if I go to lunch, maybe if I have a lunch meeting, I'll go out to eat. Then at dinner time, I'm cooking at home. And my kids help. You know, I make homemade pierogies. What an inexpensive dish, by the way. It's potatoes, cheese, onion, flour. If you make your own dough. Such an inexpensive thing, but it's time consuming. You're talking about crafts. I think that you would be excellent at cooking because something like making pierogies, if it wasn't edible, it would be a craft. I'm not wrong. So
The
true.
answer's no, man.
I'll try it out and bring them for Dawn for lunch.
Perfect. But up front, and I know that you have probably been there, done that, and you have already set your budget and you have a lot of financial independence. What I've learned as of late because of the United Way, that's my daytime job. I don't just cook and I don't just not spend money on anything. I'm also the director of the United Way of the Upper Ohio Valley, and we promote financial independence, and it's more financial security. The normal person can't write a check for $25 in this area in the Northern Panhandle, West Virginia, without feeling that they're spending money they can't spend. $25. So we talk about purses and cars, but from a donation standpoint, we have a payroll deduction campaign where people can do $1 a paycheck. And even though at the end of the month, if they get paid every week, or at the end of the year, if they get paid every week, it's $52, it's the dollar at a time. And I think that's probably a metaphor for a lot of things, being able to do that slow process. But also with the United Way, we try to help people understand how to spend things like tax returns. We try to be at the forefront of talking to folks about how to spend their stimulus checks, because it was so easy. You saw a lot of people with some nicer cars or things to do outdoors or booking vacations because they were cheap. And we were trying to get people to realize that they still have bills to pay and that money will go away, much like the professional athletes you're talking about. You have it, you want to spend it. It's really easy for that to go away. So we do encourage budgeting. It's not something that is very common in this area. And we have this data that is called, it's ALICE. We just love our acronyms in the nonprofit world. I can't even follow most of them. But this one, essentially, it's asset limited, income constrained, and employed. But that means over the poverty level, people that are working and they cannot make their bills at the end of the month are still too high for what they're bringing in. And the highest population for that in all counties in the Northern Panhandle are seniors over the age of 65. So when we're talking about financial literacy, if you're not one of the people in this room, you may have friends who are in that boat. Have them call. I think Mallory would be excellent at reaching out to have a one-on-one consultation. I'm sure the bank would love that as well. have them call the United Way. I have 2-on-1 cards here. There are services that are available to folks who are financially strapped. And I wish that we could tell everybody that. So that's not how it works. We need word of mouth. So if you know of anybody, excuse me, that is struggling financially, there is help. And 211 is a number that you call, just like you call 911 on your phone. And you're able to get connected to resources in the Upper Ohio Valley that are available. We are a fundraising organization, but we also promote giving and volunteerism. And we have some really amazing nonprofit agencies in this area that can help with rental assistance, utility assistance. Again, back to when I had my first baby, I moved into right on National Road. I moved into an apartment and I had no idea what the utilities were. Well, lesson learned, they were super high. And if I knew that I would have had that reprieve just for 1 month to get me through, that would have changed everything. It's a downhill spiral of trying to, rob Peter to pay Paul, as they say. So if you know anybody that's financially struggling, please let them know about 211, reach out to Unified to talk about how they can help. I really think that if you get started doing something like shopping small, like my dad taught me when I was little, shopping small, going to places like Jebbia's, shopping, finding deals. I'm not strapped. I don't live paycheck to paycheck. And my kids are learning that. And I'm so proud of them for everything that they're doing, but I think they see the work on my end. And I think they're proud of me as well for being able to provide them with a life that they may not otherwise have because I coupon and because I cook at home. I mean, it's true. That's the long and short of it, is that that's the main way that I can afford everything. I save thousands of dollars a year. I keep track. I save thousands of dollars a year grocery shopping and getting things that are on sale and making meals at home. So I guess that's my big tip for everyone, is making sure that if you want something, that it's that instant gratification. That's what we want in this world. We are a society full of instant gratification, that it works and it pays off. The 6 weeks in the pandemic, the only things that I bought were fresh vegetables, milk, and eggs. Other than that, I had a pantry full. I have 2 freezers. I have a deep freezer, so I can make sure that I have whatever meats that I need, and I'm able to feed my family of 4 with just that. I should have had a better closing, like a better wrap up. But I appreciate you guys coming out. And Dawn, do you want to bring it home?
Yeah, I like to say really clever things, and the most clever thing I thought was I like eggs. So we all want to be happy. We all want to feel good. Ultimately, we do. And if you don't have to worry about finances, that's a big step toward it. If you don't have to worry about your health all the time, that's a big step toward it. We had a saying in South Wheeling, I think it's from everywhere in the world, that I live by, and that is, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. The thing that I learned was, we're all mama. If you're not happy, your kids aren't happy. If you're not happy, your neighbor's not happy. If you're not happy, your spouse isn't happy. It's be unhappy because of finances is not necessarily the way you have to stay. You can learn to be frugal. You can cook well and eat well. You can cut your own hair. I do it all the time. Stop laughing. So really, if I could wish anything for everyone, it would be that you're happy, because everything is so much better. These 2 folks here are very, very intelligent. I'm just a pretty face. Don't laugh. Very intelligent. If you have any questions, please, now's the time to ask Mallory or Jessica. Sean, nobody's asking questions.
Got some nice comments online.
There you go. Probably all about them.
Actually did work.
Thank you very much for allowing us to come talk. I hope that you didn't get scared when you heard Frank was coming to talk us. Why we thought if we softened it up a little bit with the United Way, it'd be easier. We're not the only bank that can help. Any bank should be able to help. And really stop and pick up a 211 card from Jessica. You may change somebody's life. Thank you.